Hello, my friends. Welcome to this new episode of Coach Talks with Shreyas. And I'm here with two amazing guests who will talk all about the art and science of sales and customer experience. I'm very excited. Are you excited? Please do indicate where you're from and say hello to each other. That way, we will see who you are. Hey, Joe, thanks for joining us live. And many people are tuning in, and without further ado, I'll introduce the guests for today's episode, Ashish and Mehul. Hey, welcome, guys.
Hey, hi
Good
Shreyas,
to
how are
have you
you?
here. Doing good. It's a real pleasure to have you both with us on this live stream, and I'm really excited to understand all about sales and how to improve customer experience. So, first things first, Ashish, if you could just go ahead and give us a brief introduction about yourself, followed by Mehul, and then we'll briefly introduce the topic and then kickstart the conversation.
First of all, thank you so much, Shreyas, for having me here. So, I'm basically a biomedical engineer by education, but I've been working in sales from last almost 8 years. I work for a US-based MNC, predominantly into healthcare. So, yeah,
Mhm.
that's all about me. Mehul, over to you.
Yes, hi. Thanks, Asi, and thanks a lot, Shreyas, for having us on this show. So, myself, Mehul, and I'm currently establishing my startup that's Clueless Company, and I carry experience of 13 years into B2B sales and support. Yeah, so that's what about me.
Thank you so much. And we have Elaine joining us from Twitter. Hey, Elaine, thanks for joining us. And so, without further ado, the topic quite clear: the art and science of sales and customer experience. So, Ashish, I'll just come to you first. And how would you describe this art of sales? What does sales as an art mean to you?
So I think for me, I've told this very often to other people also, even on Twitter. I think for me, sales is more of a process, not a one-time thing which happens instantly. Because it may take you a minute or a day to sell something, but to actually sell something, it takes much more than that. It requires a lot to build the relationship with the customer and all that. So I think for me, it's all about the process. It's a process rather than a one-time thing. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like in my career so far.
Right. No, sales really encompasses so many other things. And I remember one person saying this to me: sales is not just about selling the product or selling the idea. It is all about selling the experience, which really brings in the great buy-in, where the client is also very interested. You're interested, and in the end, the expectation is according to the satisfaction levels of all the parties involved. It necessarily not between just you and the client. It might involve your company as well sometimes. So yeah, you bring in a great point. So Mehul, if you could bring in this topic of customer experience and time with sales. So how would you do that?
Okay, so The main reason sales is not just about the selling, as you said, right? So it's more than that. So it's like salesperson is doing a job of this, maybe this billing team, maybe the customer support, maybe lot many things. Ashish is smiling. He knows what all things looks like. If at all you sell something, if they stuck somewhere, if they are not able to reach maybe the support team, you are the first one they will catch you, right? So you are playing this very important role, being a sales. Yeah, so that is the thing. And yeah, the customer support, that's goes hand in hand, because it's very important. Because see, if you want to sell, you can sell it, but the customer experience, okay, if you are not getting a proper customer experience, they will leave you, right? They will not continue with you, because there are so many people now, that especially during this, or they say after pandemic, many new opportunities are there. People are there to serve them with a better experience, right? They will go with that. So it's very very important to have a to you offer a proper customer experience, right? The customer delight, you may want to say that.
I
Right.
think it's an overused term. I just want to throw in an analogy you just mentioned
Mhm.
about experience, right? So I believe you know what it's not only about the product or the service, because if you see there are so many restaurants, right, in probably in your own town, but if you see every person may have a different experience at a different restaurant. That's how the restaurants are working, right? Not only a restaurant which serves the best dish is doing all the business, right? So it's much more than that, as you rightly mentioned. It's not, it does matter like what product are you selling or what service are you selling. But if your product is not as good as uh, probably the best in the market, but if your customer experience is better, you can definitely do the sales, or maybe much better than the company which has the best product in the market. So I totally believe in that, you know.
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
think Hiren mentions a great point here. Customers now have tremendous options because just sitting, in front of your computer and browsing a few websites, you immediately get at least thousands of options where you're spoiled for choices. So it really is imperative that we take care of customer experience and give a once in a kind of an experience to the clients as well, so that they come back to you and they stay with you, because loyalty in the end is what drives your product further. So you don't want a person to come and just buy once, because in the end that just doesn't transfer to your future forecasts. So, what do you think is the science behind carrying out an effective sales strategy, or for that matter, how do you ensure the customer experience is always right at the top where you want it to be?
Okay, so I think for me, I believe. I'm sorry, I just lost the track of my. Could you repeat the question again, like in a sentence? I'll pick it up
Sure.
from there.
So, how do you think? What do you think is the science behind carrying out an effective sales strategy, and also ensuring that your customer experience is at the top where you want it to be?
Okay, so I think one thing which I learned really early in my career was a lot of salespeople do a mistake of over promising, because customers are ever demanding. They'll want, if you can deliver something in a day, they will ask you to deliver in an hour. And in that pressure, the salesperson will always tell the customer, okay, I'll get it done in an hour. And then he'll come up with a lot of excuses, and that really spoils the customer experience. So just to please the customer temporarily, you are actually spoiling the relationship with the customer in the long run. So I think uh, traditionally people used to say that it is all about saying yes when you are into sales, but I think it's sometimes you have to say no. So I have understood that really early in my career. I still remember when I was asked to move from Mumbai to Gujarat for my ex company. So the person who was working here, he used to sometimes even go to the airport to pick up the consignment and just get it delivered on time. And my manager told me, you have really tough shoes to fill in. And I told him right away, I don't expect that from me, but you can expect from me that I will not, or probably I'll ensure that there's no need that somebody has to go to the airport. I would rather work on my planning. I would rather educate the customer to keep stocks in their own inventory. So what happens is, you always try to please. A lot of people try to please customers in short term, and they can't really say no. But I do it very often. If something is not possible, I'm just gonna say no. This is not possible. This is what is possible. This is what I can do. This is what I can stretch. Not beyond that. And a good customer would definitely understand. And if the customer is so demanding, boof, I'm okay not doing business with the customer. Peace of mind is more important.
I
Absolutely.
totally agree, but it is,
Yeah.
very difficult in a market where, it is so sluggish. I think people just tend to start saying yes because they think that is what will get the customer to be, very pleased and continue the business. But as you rightly pointed out, it just doesn't, work in the long run where everything else is at stake. Your mental health is at stake. The company's health is at stake. And uh, the bottom line is you're the company's ambassador as well. So you would be talking about your company to someone else, and you definitely wouldn't want to put out these particular things about the way, or the extent to which you go in just to ensure your customer is very happy. So, Mel, I'll come back to you. And you
Sure.
mentioned you have 13 years of experience. So, in your opinion, how has the science of customer experience changed in the last 13 years?
Okay, so if we talk about this whole journey, right? So earlier we know that there was a legacy system, right? You say had to install the software, so the cost is, the capex is very high. So once they put in the value, that they may want to use it for 5 years, 10 years. Now the after this cloud, in last 5 years, especially if we talk about, slowly everything is moving to cloud, and now the cloud is not, no one is talking about it, everyone is cloud. Okay, and when we talk about the cloud, so at time, this customer has paid the money, the huge money, and you have that money, right? And every year your AMC will come and your maintenance contract. So is they are just okay, like they may not provide that kind of great service, but now they are on the toes, right? They are on the edge. Okay, where it is a SaaS is a subscription model, the cloud is every month you have a chance to lose that customer, that okay, I will lose it. It means that if you are not offering a best customer experience, or if it is a not based like up to the mark, right, as per the customer, not you, that okay, for you, something is different, for customer is different, right? Then definitely you may lose that. And customer have a lot of option, as already discussed. They may switch, like anything. So that the customer experience become plays the very important role. That's the reason, if you are offering kind of a 24/7 support, that plays this very important role. And that's where currently where I'm serving. I am on the notice period at my current organization, but we are offering a 24/7 support since when I have joined the company, is 13 years back. So that's the reason that kept us the separate, or the different, that kind of a USP is that. So if you play the customer role, and nowadays we all know that, right? If you want to bring a customer on board, it take a lot of time, efforts. Marketing is playing that, sales, this cost of acquisition is really high, right? And let's say, as Ashish say that, okay, sometimes you have to say no. If you over promise something, then your support team is going to face this problem, and it will ultimately lead you to the refund, the process of refund. So all whatever you said, it's gone, so better not to over promise anything. And after sales is very important in nowadays, so you should offer that, right? That is the best thing, can happen.
Absolutely. I think you bring out some great points. One is expectations. So let me put a quick question here to both of you. So how do you manage your clients' expectations in a way where it feels it is acceptable to both of you, and at the same time you are confident that you will not overwork either your team or yourself. So how would you manage these expectations?
So says for me, so I work in healthcare. Okay, so we have a sales team, we have an application team, and we have a service team. Okay, so when I actually joined this company, I used to hear it very often from customers that the services are not good. And I sort of had a prejudice in my mind that maybe we are not doing it right. I had a discussion with my manager. I was like, we really need to look into this. And then what I actually realized is these are the customers who are not ready to pay for the services. As Mehul rightly said, even we have where the customers have to pay annual maintenance contract for a year so that they get the services. So these were the customers who wanted free service, and when they were denied free service, they sort of created a ruckus because I visited them for the first time. So they thought that this is a good opportunity. This guy doesn't know. And so then I actually had a discussion with my service engineer. I was like, these are the customers, they have this problem. And he gave me the history about it. I went back to the customers. I told them, we we can't do it for free, right? Because you are also making money out of it, right? And so a lot of customers agreed to it. A few didn't, but then it's okay. You can't really make every customer happy. So when it comes to expectations, I am a sort of a salesperson who will always. Uh, so if I can do something in an hour, I'll always say I can do it in 5 hours. So I always keep that thing, because a customer can never be happy. Trust me on this when I say this. No matter what you do for a customer, you can never make the customer happy because the customer will always feel that, okay, I could have maybe got it at a cheaper price, or maybe I could have got it more. Also, when I was really new to this field, whenever customer used to tell me, okay, done, I'm going to buy your product, I used to believe that customer. That never happens. There's always one more meeting. There's always one more meeting. But what used to happen is I used to give out all the eggs in my basket to the customer, because assuming that he would just close the deal. And then I lost few deals because few customers expect so much at the end, because they believe there's always something more to have. And a salesperson believes, okay, if the customer is saying probably I can, just go all in and just get because there's so much of pressure. Ironically, sales is all about patience, but then it all boils down to targets and the numbers and the timeline. So what I do now is I'll always assume, even if the customer is writing me a check, I know this customer is gonna ask something more, and I always keep a buffer. Always keep a buffer. At times, I've taken the order, the customer didn't demand anything, and I just offer after the deal. I just offer that this is what I can do for you, and the customer is earned for life, because I'm offering something which he didn't expect. So again, under promise, over deliver sort of a thing, which I really apply to almost everything. So that
Yeah.
works for me, yeah, so far.
What about you, Mehul?
Yeah, very, very rightly said, Ashish. So what happens, the question, coming to your question, this way is that how do we tackle the things? Okay, so as Ashish said, that if someone is paying you money which you are asking without negotiating much, especially if we talk about this, the people like us, the Indian people, right? They are very price centric. Okay, so if someone is asking at very, very, I would say this lower than your bottleneck price, and if you offer them, that kind of customer may also create a problem. If someone is paying you higher, would like to pay higher, there's also a problem, right? So you should be knowing that, okay, if this customer is less demanding, more demanding, you have to gauge that. Otherwise, you will be like this sandwich kind of thing. They will not spare you. They will come up with everything. Okay, this is not happening, this is not happening. Okay, I need this, I was expecting that this will be there, but now it's not there, right? So what I personally do is, I'm into this product industry right now. So and we have this, try before you buy. So I show them, you don't buy me, you use it, right? And then later, I will have this always upper hand, that we have all this thing, you have tried everything, and do that. So there is no scope of that. And as it's a very, that I always keep one thing in mind, that if it is we do not have, I will say no. If we have, I will say yes. If we have in pipeline, I will say this is in pipeline, but I don't have any roadmap or anything like that. But one thing, if you say that I think I am something, never ever say that. Never keep that in the gray area. Either say yes, if say no. If you don't know something, then you can even say that I don't know, but I will check and get back to you, right? So that is a definite answer, right? So that is something, and they like the honesty, right? People don't want to hear that everything is yes, yes, yes. If you say honestly, people really appreciate that. Yes, like you are not as a salesperson just saying yes to everything, right? And the value, what you say, that we have to see the value the customer is coming in. Customer said that I need this, so then we have to use the business. You have to see the business case, right? Let's say what will happen if I let this customer go, And what will happen? Let's say if I take this request, I implement, then it will cater to the larger audience or not, right? We have to look at this bigger picture. If there is something that is going to help everyone, why not to implement? Sometimes we can do it free of cost, right? So it's all about value proposition and the this unlocking of the value.
Absolutely. So there are some key points that I readily take up from what you both shared. One is to get clear on what you're offering and communicate that very clearly to the customer as well, so that there is a mutual understanding or a common ground that is established. So both of you know what you can expect of each other. And third is to really understand where your costs lie and what exactly you can offer for the cost that is being proposed by the client, the customer, or the company, whoever it is involved. And to the art of saying no. I think that is what it boils down to. So if you're feeling it is really not worth taking that client for the amount specified, because it's just not the money factor that is involved. It is also about building your own brand and also ensuring that your customers get the best feedback from the other clients as well, because I'm sure people now in this digital age do not really readily believe in what they see. And finally, offering that experience, like you said, Mehul, which I think is a great way to build that trust, to let them have a chance to really engage with the product, or use the idea, see the results for themselves, and go on to becoming a paying customer. I think these are some great points that you guys have readily brought in. So I think that finishes first segment of our discussion, and we have got some questions that were shared by audience members in the previous post. So I think this would be a right time to take a few questions, answer them, and then proceed further.
Yeah, sure, sure. Go ahead.
Sure,
Awesome.
sure.
So I think I've got two myths that people really want to understand if it is true or false. So first thing is, effective sales coaches don't determine focus for their representatives. If there's an important area for the representative, let them decide what to focus on, and the sales coach or the sales manager should go with their suggestion. So what do you think?
Okay, can I give an analogy here?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm sort of an ignorant. Okay, I used to call myself an atheist, but lately, when I really understood everything, I call myself an ignorant because I don't really understand spirituality and religion stuff. So there was this colleague of mine. In I think 4 5 years back, I used to work for a company, and we were staying together in an hotel, and we just started chit chatting. And he was a very spiritual guy, like going to temples and everything. So we just started talking, and he asked me about like, since I'm a Jain, he asked me, "Do you follow everything? Do you go to temples? Do you listen to monks and all that thing?" And I was like, "No, I don't do that." And I told him I don't really understand the idea of temples. And that's when he gave me a excellent analogy. He's like, "You know what? Because I told him God's everywhere, right?" And he told me, just imagine there are a lot of pipes over your head, and there's water flowing in that pipe. You can actually hear the sound of that water flowing, gushing through those pipes. But if you really want to touch that water, you need a tap, right?
Mhm.
And that's what temples do. And that's what sales coaches do. So I just want to link it back to this. Probably a salesperson or a representative may know everything, but then there has to be somebody who actually brings everything together, that tap. So I think it's really important. Even I was of that opinion that how can someone coach someone for sales. Because people say you're a born salesperson or something like that, unless and until I attended one of the sales coaching, and that's when I realized, okay, I was so distorted, so unorganized. So I think definitely it's a myth that there's a need for coaching, definitely, not only to sales, almost every aspect of life.
Oh,
True.
yeah,
So what
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, go ahead. Do you have anything to add, Mel?
Yeah, so I think it's not more than I think this Ashish has well covered with by giving an example. It's a perfect example, I would say. So definitely in every aspect of your life, be it a professional or even a personal life, right? It's learning is a continuous process. So every now and then we'll learn something new, and we are already seeing that
Absolutely.
on the social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever we say, we learn something new every day.
Mhm. Very true, and I totally agree, Ashish. It's like, you know, a sales coach acts like a sounding board where a representative can pitch their ideas and get feedback on, because always, the third set of eyes or an extra set of eyes always proves very beneficial. And when you have this kind of feedback mechanism that you create, it is really effective on part of the sales representative to identify the chunks in the strategy, and at the same time it is also a great way to really pick up on the wisdom a coach has, because obviously one, they are experienced, and second, they're also aware of the art and science behind the right sales strategy. So in a way it really helps them focus on the right aspects and stay on track, so that they don't end up wasting time, both from the client as well as their own time. And it, in a way, it also enables them to start developing that confidence where they can bring up the right strategies, get feedback, implement, and then just continue going. So I think that was a great analogy that you gave there. The second myth is many sales leaders or managers think they're coaching, but they're actually just telling employees what they do. How true is that?
Okay, so I think so. There's one way of coaching your team members is where you do it in a structured and organized manner, where you have coaching calls. A lot of MNCs have, and the other is the passive. You actually do. You lead by example. You do, and that's it's up to the team members to pick it up from a manager. So I think it's a very subjective question, Shreyas. I don't know. I think when you work with a manager or a leader, uh, you can't learn everything from that person in a coaching call. You actually learn while you're working with them, and it happens passively. So I think yeah, you can definitely, because whatever I've learned from I'm very fortunate enough to have really good managers in my life, in my career so far. So I think it's not a myth. Yeah, you can definitely learn a lot from your managers and leaders.
Mhm. What about you, Mehul?
So I would say it's not maybe just not manager and there's people working with them. So it is like basically as a team, right? Everyone will contribute equally, okay, and everyone can learn from each other. So what I personally do is when I work with this team right now also, I'm working exactly what they are doing. They are working on all inbound sales. I also do that. So they will not, just feel that, okay, this is a manager. They will feel that, okay, it is one of them, right? And when we have a new joinee in the team, when they bring a first sale, what I personally do is, I bring the dairy milk for them, and I just, it is an appreciation. I give them, and yes, they feel that, okay, this is my first sale. This is like achievement, especially when you see your fresher who are doing that, right? So it's like, see, I have learned this, based on my experience, how I was treated. So now I further would like to share it further. That it is a knowledge, you have to keep sharing that, right? And once they see that, okay, they will feel comfortable. Okay, they see that, okay, these guys are really cool. Okay, it is he's not a manager or she is not a manager. He or she is one of them, right? And then when we also say that, okay, when we hear a call, we say that, oh, this is something it is a very new thing, right? So recently, I will take one example. I have a recently joined, that guy is just a month old. He has joined us, and that guy is just so confident, and when he speaks, like, we say that, okay, how are you, so much energetic, everything, like you are talking like you are working in this industry from last 5 years, right? That guy has just joined one. So that kind of a confident, how it is key. So that is something, this learning for as a manager, as a whatever you call it, is a learning for us also, right? And then we can take that as an example. And when we really appreciate that, because appreciation can do, other things, will really know. Sometimes someone say, okay, you are awesome. If you just say that, it's like boom, that will miracle. And then how the person will perform is just really amazing. So that's like it is this particular thing, stress, I will put it is a gray area, so it's not myth or anything like that. It depends. I will put that way.
Yeah, definitely, I can understand the subjective part of it. And I think one thing that stands out from what you both spoke was, again, effectively communicating. When that channel is a two-way street, I think that is where real progress can happen. And, both your viewpoints can be put across and, pick the best and leave the rest. I think that is probably the best answer that we can come across for this particular myth. Uh, the next question is about, what does successful sales coaching or sales mentoring requires from the managers?
Okay. I think I may sound really naive, but you can't coach someone without empathy, which a lot of managers or a lot of leaders lack. Uh, it's very easy to lash out on someone if somebody does a mistake, but to be empathetic about it and then teach, it takes much more. It takes a lot of patience. And if a manager or a leader is doing that, uh, is making an impact. Is definitely making an impact. Uh, yeah, so maybe I don't know. Mehul can add something on this because he's been a manager. I've not been a manager yet. I do have managed people, but not in a structured manner. So I think maybe Mehul can answer better.
Okay, so thanks, Ashish. So what happens that, especially if we talk about right now, the situation is very critical, right? Mentally and everything. That people are really, yeah, people are into the depression or in a lot, and especially let's say if you are not, because I'm talking on the industries, the hospitality industry, right? Basically hotels and restaurants. It is closed at many places. So definitely sales is really difficult to make up. So what I personally do is that, I had a performer, who were not able to bring even a single sales in whole month, right? So basically, it was a zero revenue. Actually, it's absolutely fine. It can even happen. It can even me. Okay, that is no problem at all. But we have to keep encouraging people. Okay, you have ability to do that thing, right? It's just 1 month you did not perform, right? It is, again, not because you can't perform, right? You look at your past data, the sales funnels you have built in, right? So believe in yourself. See, I am not telling you anything that, okay, did I ever ask you that why there is no payment? I will do that, or company will do that. Okay, it's just okay, let it go, and then what normally I do is, I invite them, I go them, or they come to me. I just have a very friendly conversation, some jokes or anything like that, and then we just have to make that person comfortable, right? So that person said, okay, there is no, there is no pressure from there, or whatever this leader, whatever we call it. We just have to make them comfortable. That's it. If you do, if you succeed in that, means that person, will feel that, okay, I am in safe hand.
Absolutely. So, three things that really strike out to me. One is to open that channel of communication where you can establish some level of comfort between, the sales leader or sales manager and the representative. And second is obviously, as you said, ongoing training. I think that is where you can learn some stuff, then practice it, get feedback, and again start making improvements. And third is, as you said, to indulge in some self learning, like you can check out courses on LinkedIn Learning, or probably read some good books, understand what the book says, have a good discussion with your team, and then see what is best and what works for you, and you can pick it up from there on. So I think, in a way, to sum it up, successful sales coaching will essentially have good communication. They're open to feedback and also to learn new things as and when they come. So, thank you, folks. I think those are some questions that I can readily see. So moving on, I think now is the best time to talk about our own experiences where Ashish, you have worked in the medical industry, and Mehul, you are in the hospitality sector. So, two things here. So, one, as a service-based professional, how has your experience been? And second, as a customer yourself, how do you see the respective industry that you're?
Mehul, you want to go ahead first, service
Uh,
based?
sure, sure, Ashish. So basically, if I talk about the hospitality industry, so the word itself, the hospitality industry, like the comfort which they have to provide, it runs 24/7. Whenever you go, they will always welcome you with a smile. Whether they have or any problem or anything, they will welcome you with a smile. So that kind of thing is very important, and offer that kind of again this comfort or this friendliness, right? That really happen service industry, right? If I talk about, let's say, the hotel, if I am going in any of the hotel, right, I might visit that hotel just once in my life because there are a lot many options available, but the impression they leave, right, that makes the whole difference. Okay, so I will take one example. So I decided that like I will take my daughters every you know on a trip. It will be just my daughter and me, no mother, no one else, right? So we can enjoy. And I stayed in this Vadodara, and they when I booked it, I said, okay, I'm a father coming with my daughter. See, at that time she was a 4 year old. It was before pandemic, right? And then when I went there, that room was, they kept a balloon, they kept some toffees, and some basic, so make that child comfort, the comfortable, enjoyable. And as soon, and I told specially that she like, my elder daughter likes the blue color. So if you have any theme or anything to that, and they actually arrange it. And then as soon as she entered, and she was like, wow, daddy. And then now it is like for a lifetime memory. I will never forget. So that kind of service, if you can offer, is an experience, customer experience. Basically, if you do that, that person will never ever just forget you, right? And I'm really happy to say that I am in this currently in my organization since last 13 years, and I'm still, I have a client who started with me that time 13 years ago. They're still my customer right now also. So that kind of this experience we provide, whenever they know that okay, this guy will bring me out whatever is that. So it's all relationship plays a very important role. Doesn't matter, yeah, but this, there will be, they need a one contact in person where if they will start, they know okay, this guy will be there to help me out. So that kind of, if you do that, then definitely no one is can beat you for any business. It's not to say anything, it's experience you have to give.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ashish?
All right. So when I talk about, I think what I've seen in my industry is when I started in 2014. Uh, I predominantly work into diagnostic sector, which was not a very big thing in healthcare. It's ever evolving, and thanks to COVID, it has acted as a catalyst. It was always an ignored department in a hospital, probably the last thing where people used to actually set your funds for, because it was always an auxiliary service. So what I had seen was people were very loyal to the products and the service and the companies before. If they actually buy something, they're gonna use it for years and years. Now what I see is they change very fast, unless you maintain or sustain. So sustainability was very easy early because people were not ready to change. Now if I see in a hospital sector or a diagnostic sector, uh, it's just the contracts are ripped off overnight. There are contracts for 5 years in place, but in a year you will see the customers demanding you to reduce the prices over and over again just because someone else is offering you. So in this ever-changing world, so more than sales, what I do is I sustain the business. So adding new business is maybe what 20-25% of what numbers I do, but 75 to 80% is maintaining those relationships and ensuring that the customer don't ask you for a discount. And trust me when I say this, a customer will ask you for a discount if there's a pain, because that's what the customer will use to leverage against you. And that is what you have to avoid. So you just gotta ensure that the customer is happy with whatever you're doing, or at least create a perception that the customer is happy. Because if you give them a point, a pain point, you will lose, and you will have no other option. Because as Mehul also rightly mentioned, acquiring a new client will obviously be costing you more. So you never want to lose on your own client.
Mhm. I think that is what Hiren very rightly mentioned. Acquisition costs for a new client is always going to be high. So nurturing your current customers and ensuring they stay loyal, I think that is where the trick lies. And one thing that I really understand from your experiences is that you should always be willing to go that extra mile if the resources and the time allows for you, because that in a way speaks for the type of customer experience you want to create. And the second, it also lies in the tone or the way a customer requests certain work, because Mehul so politely asked, I think that made the hotel management or the hotel staff to actually acknowledge that particular request and go that extra mile. So I think again it really boils down to effective communication, which is what I feel ties up to my own industry as well. Me being a coach, I think there is a lot of misconception going around as to what a coach can do or can't do, and we rightly have got a very good comment here. I don't think the chat will display the entire thing. So I'll just give you the gist of what the person said. He says that if I have to be a seasoned coach, I think it is better for me to get my hands dirty by working in very good industries and working in different capacities, and getting the good sense of coaching direction. So this is where I think the gross misunderstanding of the term coach arises. What the person is describing would be apt for mentoring. So a mentor would be the person who will actually guide you or probably can give you advice on industry-based topics. Whereas a coach is an expert generalist, so he doesn't advise in any sense. Coaching is typically an activity where I help you bring awareness to your own strengths and challenges through carefully chosen questions which are open-ended, because it has to foster that discussion. And second, there are a whole lot of assessments that are out there which can readily give insights to me. And third, I'm a trained professional, so I've trained for 1 year to become a coach. So that gives me great insights into how I can handle the questions. And again, let me make this clear. A coach is someone who is an expert generalist. He doesn't have to have any industry specific training, because we are not there to advise. That is the role of a mentor. So that is something which really affects the way I deliver my customer experience, because when an executive comes, they are usually short on time. So it will be usually 30 minutes that they can really spend before they have to hop on to the next call. And helping them understand what a coach can do and can't do, I think that is where the real sales actually happens. And second, in coaching, you have to be able to articulate in such a way that your prospective client can readily imagine the place where he will be after undergoing a few sessions with me, and able to sell that experience. I think that is where the real magic happens. So I think coaching in a way is still kind of very novel, at least in India, where people really get confused with sports coaches and they get confused with mentors. So, simple answer to this person's questions: no, I don't have to really have any industry specific training, or have myself employed with so many industries in various capacities to understand. And if at all, bottom line, you want to ask me about my experience, just one answer: show me how many 27-year-olds have put in their time, their money, and efforts to get trained, to pass exams, and make headway in international market. Because the way I've done is very systematic. It is always available for you to check. So, in that sense, I think it is one key difference between coaching and mentoring, which will readily help me make that sales happen or not.
If that would have been the case, Reyes, then I think all the good restaurants in the world should have been run by chefs, and not entrepreneurs.
Very true. And if not anything else, that is why I have guests like you who are, experienced in this particular topic. And it's just not me going solo and talking just my own views. So this is something which people really need to understand before, they jump on to conclusions, because I accept coaching is not well known in India, but some efforts have to be made to, really understand. And one such effort is this particular live stream, where I'm trying to get this idea of coaching into a wide variety of domains. It's just not into executive and life coaching. We can also talk about sales coaching, where you, like Mehul and Ashish, you play a key role as well, because you're just not there sitting there to advise people and just tell them what to do. You're in a way building a good community of people who can really take that particular thing into their own hands, do it, come back to you for feedback, and in the end just develop mutually. So that is one key thing that really has to happen. So what do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Uh, with your permission, Shreyas, I had actually thought of squeezing this concept throughout the conversation, but somehow I missed.
Mhm.
So, if you allow me, maybe I would take the
Sure,
liberty to go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
So, around 2.5 years back, there was this coaching which our company had organized. So, I'm not going to endorse that company for obvious reasons. So, they what sort of they do is that they quantify sales. They give a formula to sales. All may Because when I heard it for the first time, even I found it very absurd.
Mhm.
Because for every one of us, it is more of a qualitative thing. And when I actually completed that training, I was amazed the way they conducted the training. So what they actually try to tell you is, so what uh, the basis of selling something is, the first thing what you have to do is you have to have a vision match with your customer. You know, a customer will always have a vision of the product or the service, what they want or what they want to buy or experience. The
Mhm.
first thing what you have to do as a seller is match their vision. Okay, but then the twist is there are a lot of people who are going to match that vision. You are not the only one. So you really have to differentiate that vision. So once you have a vision match differentiation, there are very minimal chance that you're going to lose that sale. And then, so basically it says, the formula says the sales is equals to vision match differentiation into power, into plan, and into value. Everything has a multiplication. If anything becomes
Multiple.
zero, your sales become zero. Most of the times what happens is, like, for example, if somebody at my home comes like the door salesman and tries to sell me washing powder, not gonna work, right? But if that person reaches out to my mom, he might do a sale, because I'm not the right person. I don't have the power to buy washing powder at my home. Also, so that's what I wanted to share with the audience.
I think
More
you
like a
you
takeaway for them.
Yeah, you just bought that analogy at the best possible time, because I was going to segue towards, understanding what you just said about how a sales coach can really optimize things and bringing out the point of vision and matching that, and probably in a way where it is unique to you and you're the only person who can do that. I think that is what bottom line sales coaching actually does. So
Yes.
that's a great place that you bought this analogy. Anything to add, Mehul? I'm just
Yeah.
so happy you bought this at the right time when we were talking about coaching.
So, yeah, so I would like to add one thing, maybe the viewers can also connect and they will agree. Okay, so uh, coaching is not just not related to, this, don't know, maybe one to one or whatever. So let's say YouTube, right? YouTube is a coach, right? All of us are seeing a lot of videos on a day-to-day basis. Like if you go on a YouTube and say that, like, so, how, sell me this pain. This is this one very famous thing in sales, and you see the thousands or maybe the millions of people has created this video. So what is that? That's a coaching only. You are taking that coaching, that online on a YouTube, that is the free of cost. Okay, now you just think from the perspective that, let's say, just by watching one video, when you just have to, the listen what that, the coach, right, that person is a coach only, the coach is saying. So you are just listening and learning and implementing. Now think that if meet the coach in person, the Shreyas for example, then that person will connect with you, emotionally, or whatever you call it, that you will see into, like, consider that this is a current, this session is going on, we are Slack, right, where we can talk to each other, so that person can understand you well, maybe the personal professional thing, maybe at a family or everything, and then that person can train you, to coach you. The level you see is a quite a difference, right? Is, I think it's more of, as you say, Shreyas, that particular thing is very, I think it's slowly, this growing in India, where people are, taking this coaching and everything. See, when we were in class in college, we were taking this, this coaching class, right? This is the same thing. So I think that time people said, okay, if we do not go there, we may not pass out the exam. Here they may not have, that kind of FOMO, right? This, okay, if I don't take, nothing is going to happen. I will learn from, this YouTube Baba, right? I will learn from that. But what the actual coach can, this train you, can mentor you, right? It will have a completely different thing. As Ashish say that, the given this example, that what that coach say this, right? So it is that, and one size, doesn't fit all, right? Sell me this pain. I always say that. Let's say, are you selling a pain? I'm not selling a pain. I'm selling a different product. The sell pelling will not apply in my business. That will be completely different thing, right? So you need a personal coach who can train you or to guide you on what you are actually doing, right? So what I will tell, the assistant that, okay, take my pen. He don't need that. He is into the completely different industry,
This actually brings back an interview I had, like probably the second or the third interview of my life, of my career.
Uh-huh.
And this dude, this gentleman asked me to sell a pen. I take a pause and I'm like, I'm really sorry, sir. I'm not coming here to sell pens. You give me a product of yours, I'll sell that product to you. And you'll have to buy that. You
Absolutely.
know why? Because it's your own product. If you don't use it yourself, nobody's gonna use it. And I tracked that
Uh,
interview. I didn't join for obvious reasons, but yeah, I totally agree with Mehul. People really need to get away with that shit. Stop selling pens. Unless you work for a pen company, just stop selling pens.
Absolutely.
We have had enough of it. And to add to
Right.
Shreyas, what one of the comments which somebody said, and you actually sort of clarified it. I think, according to me, what purpose of a coach is, if the coach is coaching a salesperson, the coach doesn't have to be the best salesperson. The coach's job is to make that person the best salesman. If a coach is uh, coaching a cricket or a cricketer, that doesn't mean that that person has to be the best cricketer of the world, right? The
Mhm.
responsibility or the job of the coach is to ensure that the person whom is coaching becomes the best cricketer of the world. People really need to understand that. People really need to
This
understand that.
remind, yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but this remind me. So recently, I watched one series. I think that's Aspirants, right? That's the best example where, IAS, IPS. The where the course is, they might not have cleared that IAS, IPS, but they can, this create that IAS, IPS, right? I think that's the best
Aspirants,
example.
aspirants,
Aspirants, yeah, that's the
aspirants.
one,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is the perfect example, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that is where the role of a coach is not so traditional, because the coach, the way they bring in that magic is by one key word, which is awareness.
Awareness.
And in order to be a better coach, I think you have to be really active with all your five senses. You have to be actively seeing, actively listening, actively smelling. Sometimes, probably, I don't know, if you're, tasting, if you're coaching the taster, then active tasting. you need to be able to do that in a very effective manner. And I think we are trained to do just that. We are trained to bring in that awareness with whatever topic that you bring into me, because ultimately I'm not going to project my vision or my expectations on you. I'm rather going to bring out that expectation within yourself out to the forefront so that people around you can see it, can get inspired, and in the end you also just become the best person that there is in particular domain. So I think that is a great analogy that you both shared, and we've had this conversation for close to an hour, and I would definitely like to respect both your time, gentlemen. So closing thoughts for the audience with regards to sales and customer experience, please.
I think I can't stress enough, but I think yeah, always uh, be in touch with your customers when they are not buying. That's when they're gonna come to you when they actually want to buy. You just can't reach out to your customers at that very moment when they are planning to buy. So that's what I do. I have changed fields, but I'm still with touch with those customers, because you never know. You may just go back to that field someday. So that's one key takeaway point I want to give out to the audience. Be in touch
Mhm.
with your customers even when they are not buying.
Absolutely. Mehul?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely the relationship, right? How you build and maintain relations is very important. From my side, I would like to talk about sales. Is I think that's a myth or whatever we call it. So many of the people, thinks that the communication is the key in sales, right? But I personally don't agree to it. What I personally believe is that if you know your product well, product it means that can be this physical product or a service, anything. So if you know the product well, right? Communication, anyone can do this communication, but if you know your product well, you can sell like anything, right?
Yeah,
That makes you this different, because see, if you someone asks you something, if you have an answer for that, means you know your product well, then only you can do that, right? So this is something I would like to say from my side. Yeah, the product is the key, the communication definitely is important, but the product comes first and then communication.
definitely. That is why communication is a soft skill that I think you can pick it up just by three words: practice, practice, practice. So I think by practice you can really build communication skills, but understanding and pardon me, so understanding and being aware of the product and the USPs. So if at all there is any particular thing that a customer wants to know in detail, I think you should be able to really articulate that well. Of course, it is not an expectation that you need to know the technical aspects, but the selling points that you obviously would have
Absolutely.
discussed, I think that is really very important. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for giving me 1 hour of your time and sharing this secrets behind the art and science of sales and customer experience. I'm sure the audience would have picked quite a few nuggets from here and that they can certainly improve upon. And I've definitely linked Mehul's and Ashish's links in the post. So please do go check them out. If you have any questions regarding sales and customer experience, they are just a DM away. They will always ensure that they respond to you in the best time possible. So to the audience, I thank you for showing up here. And if you're watching the replay, just share your thoughts in the comments. I will get to that as quickly as possible. So thank you. Until next time, stay safe and take care.
Thank you, Shreyas, for having us.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
so much.
Sir.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir. Pleasure, Tommy. Thanks. Good
Yeah.
night. Bye bye.